New York City Mayor Eric Adams and the NYPD are being accused of using sealed criminal court records in a political stunt. The goal, arguing that bail reform was causing a rise in repeat crime.
According to Gothamist, the case, which is being filed by attorneys from the public defenders group, the Bronx Defenders, focuses on an August press conference during which Adams and NYPD Commissioner Keechant Sewell lamented judges' inability to send repeat offenders to jail given bail reform laws and highlighted 10 repeat criminals deemed, quote, the worst of the worst repeat offenders. Ironically, however, all 10 of the unnamed offenders mentioned in the press conference were eligible to be held on bail, according to the Bronx Defenders. In response to the allegations, Mayor Adams' press secretary said no sealed information was used during the press conference. So this is one of those situations where, on the first level of misconduct, Eric Adams uses these sealed records to try to posture and make a political point about how the reason we have all of this crime and the reason we have all these repeat offenders is because of bail reform laws that bind the criminal justice system and force them to let people out into the streets. In reality, upon further inspection, the bail reform laws had no bearing on whether or not these people were released. They were released by the individual choices that were being made by the judges and prosecutors in those various cases. So if he has a beef, it's with them, not this kind of bail reform law that has become the stalking horse for so many conservatives in both the Democrat and Republican Party.
Okay, I guess I'm not totally following then. But isn't that just a similar, the judges should not have granted?
Well, take your beef up with the judges, but okay. Bail reform legislation and the fact that the idea that leftists have been pushing bail reform and that prosecutors who are painted as the good guys by people across the aisle in various jurisdictions, the people who are locking folks up, putting these jail sentences into place, who are kind of politically conservative in terms of the kind of slant of what they do for a living, and oftentimes in their attitudes toward criminal justice, to be frank. They're the ones that are making the decision to basically let people out. And these people are then going to be repeat offenders. So if you have an issue with the way that prosecutors' offices are handling crime, take it up with the prosecutor's office. But this was a stunt that was intended to tarnish the reputation of bail reform laws, which give prosecutors discretion and flexibility to do what they want to do, but aren't in fact responsible for the choices that have been made to let various offenders out.
But would people in the Adams camp or in the concerned about crime camp say there ought to be less flexibility because there are too many? Or you're saying, well, then you should have a different prosecutor rather than forcing the prosecutor to bring cases they don't want to bring or keep people locked up when they might want to free them?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And again, these are sealed records. These are people who, regardless of what crime you commit, you're not, it doesn't make you open to being exploited and have your personal information dredged for the public to see. So we don't know a lot about why in these 10 cases of the thousands and thousands of people who are arrested and convicted in New York every year, why these particular offenders were let out, whether or not there was good reason to let them out, whether or not there were other kind of flags that should have been examined, or whether or not, frankly, in the course of criminal justice practice, some people are going to commit crimes again. That's not a rationale for locking everybody up indefinitely for the rest of their life, kind of Minority Report style, right?
Well, sure. I think that doesn't satisfy a lot of people.
Is the goal to lock people up even if they're potentially innocent or reformed forever, so that there was never anybody who's committed any offense ever that goes on to commit another offense ever?
I think, obviously, if you have to go to trial, or you have to go through the justice system. So if you've been found innocent, you have to be let go if you've been found innocent. We're talking about holding people while they're awaiting trial. I guess if there's... Yeah,
this is awaiting trial. These are people on bail, so they haven't been convicted. I mean, these are people, I believe, that haven't been convicted of anything.
Right? They
got out and then they committed another crime. Yeah.
Well,
they committed a crime,
And that's already happened, though, right? Now we're talking about like the second run-through of that, or they've already been convicted of some crime, and now or they had some police interaction and they're being locked up again. That's where
I believe these are people who were arrested for an alleged crime, let out on bail, and while they were out on bail, committed a crime.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that is just going to happen unless you have a system of keeping everyone locked up.
Look at Sam Bankman-Fried.
Trial.
We live in a world where Sam Bankman-Fried, who is, or at least was, I'm not sure what his status is right now, a billionaire, who just got extradited to the United States after living in a $30 million resort penthouse apartment. He was given special conditions, special
the difference is he's not
living conditions.
Anyone.
Wait a minute. Special living conditions in a Bahamian jail, which was not the best conditions to begin with, but he didn't have to go in with the rest of the general population. And now he's in the United States of America and lobbying to be let out on bail with a electronic tracker around his ankle because he is, in fact, a huge flight risk because he has a lot of money and a lot of resources and, in fact, has committed a greater theft than any regular person could ever, I mean, allegedly, obviously, could ever hoped to commit, no matter how many convenience stores he robbed or whatever.
His capacity to commit further criminal behavior right now is...
Financial fraud?
Is zero.
If anything,
I'm sure he's had all his assets frozen.
If anything, the nature of his crime suggests to me that being out on bail and being restricted to your house doesn't prevent him from committing the kind of crimes that he's committed. All this man needs is a laptop and a prayer. But a different kind of criminal, if your concern is that people are going to get out of jail and commit more crimes to the public, then again, why aren't we talking about the use of those ankle bracelets and electronic tracking for people who aren't multimillionaires or billionaires like Sam Bankman-Fried, who've stolen more money than God could ever imagine, but somehow get off with less consequences than your average petty thief?
I guess better use of those. What about those tracking devices? We did a segment.
Those
Is that
Apple
aired yet?
trackers?
I'm not even sure. We just put those on. Now this is going to interfere with our other concern about being tracked everywhere. But we just put one of those little smart tag things.
Yeah, look, it's not ideal, right? I mean, Stephen Donziger, who I recently interviewed for my podcast this week, who, of course, is the environmental lawyer who was
under house arrest.
He was under house arrest with an ankle bracelet for well over a year.
A year.
And he also had to spend 45 days in prison for the crime of winning a multi-billion-dollar judgment against an oil company. So you can see the inequality with which various people are treated given the crimes that they commit. You know, it's a real problem here, especially when this is really a case about a mayor of New York throwing his constituents under the bus for a political stunt that he hadn't even thought through enough that his point could actually land. So I think a lot of people agree there needs to be some substantive criminal justice reform. It's not clear that Eric Adams is the man for the job.
All right, well, that does it for us today. I got to get out of here. I am off to Detroit, driving all the way through what looks to be a lot of storms.
I'm worried about you, Robby. I'm also headed to the Midwest, to Cleveland, but in the air. So
oh boy,
I'll see you on the other side, my friends.
All right, happy holidays, everybody. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content, including some very special holiday content that we have coming throughout this week and next. So for those of you who like to listen while on the go, you can find us anywhere podcasts are available. And we will talk to you very soon. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Happy holidays.